17 years. That's how long the R35 GTR has been in production. I don't think any modern car has been in production that long. In 2023, Nissan hinted us with the Hyperforce concept, which I actually got to shot earlier in the year in the center of Tokyo. That was kind of a general stylistic hint at what a possible future GTR may look like. And basically the work within Nissan has begun to replace this car. The T-spec 2024 model, soon gonna get replaced with the slightly refreshed version, which will be the very last car. So, you know, 17 years is actually a very long time for a car to be in production, and I thought, you know, let's take a car out and kind of familiarize myself with what really made the R35 special. And, you know, it's stayed very special right up until, you know, 2024, this year. I mean, this car really manages to keep up with the best supercars and sometimes hypercars that other manufacturers have put out. So the main reason that there was a good 5-year gap between the R34 and the R35 is that Mizuno's team at Nissan, who was in charge of developing the next step in the GTR lineage, really knew that they had to basically come up with a car that was not only going to be a worthy successor to the second generation R32, 33, 34s, but basically be time-proof, because this car was going to be a model that had to really last over the years. At the time, Mr. Gon unleashed a budget that was basically supposed to take care of everything, and they really had to come up with a car that was at the top of what sports cars were all about at that time. So we're talking 2002 to 2005. After the GTR Proto concept that was shown at the Tokyo Motor Show, we started getting an idea of what the R35 was going to look like. So there was a hint at a very different shape. You know, the afterburner tail lights were always going to be there as part of a kind of link to the older cars. But the biggest change was the vertical type headlights. That was met with a lot of mixed reviews by press and, you know, GTR enthusiasts. I personally didn't really digest it initially. It was very awkward looking. But then from the GTR Proto to the actual GTR production car that came in 2007, basically there was a really good refinement of the design. And I was lucky enough in early 2007 to actually be flown off to Hokkaido Proving Ground at Nissan for Auto Week magazine at the time. And I got a glimpse of the finished production R35 GTR a good 6 months before it was actually shown at Tokyo Motor Show. I got to shoot the car at the venue, and the picture that I actually did, which was amazing because we actually got to do car-to-car around the Proving Ground, which is basically a recreation of a German highway. And I got this really low shutter speed car-to-car shot from the front three-quarter of the R35 GTR. And that picture was actually leaked by Auto Week magazine. They broke the embargo because they thought some other publications were going to release it at the same time, so they just took the chance. And my picture was basically the first glimpse of the R35 GTR. Ended up making the cover of Auto Week magazine, which is a very proud moment for me. It didn't actually make it to global markets until the following year. So yeah, I mean, we're looking at 17 years of production, which makes total sense why this year will be the final iteration of the R35 GTR. You know, it's been a hell of a long stretch for the R35. It'll be 18 years next year, so those cars are actually going to be carried over into 2025. You really have to give it to Nissan. They really did create a car that, you know, even if in today's basically guys that we're driving here on the turnpike, it does feel like an old car. I mean, there's no hiding the fact that this car was developed close to 20 years ago. It feels a little bit out of date in a lot of the details, but performance-wise, amazingly enough, it's still very much up there. Every year, Mizuno and his team perfected the car. The Kaizen mindset, the philosophy of basically refining and perfecting step by step, really did become a part of the GTR project. It's pretty much what has created the car that we're driving today, which is quite a lot different from that original 2007 first car. And the great thing about that Kaizen mindset is basically that refinements really did, kind of stretch across the board. It wasn't just, a design thing or a mechanical thing. They really took a lot of time and effort into really pretty much perfecting every angle of the car. So, we started with the gearbox. The transaxle here has always evolved with the various generations and the production years of the R35 GTR. It used to be far more agricultural. I remember the first few launches I did in 2007 with that press car that we were handed. It was a brutal experience because basically it was just a clutch drop, and you basically bunny hopped off the line. And today with this car, it just becomes an effortless, very smooth launch with all the clutch packs being slipped properly and getting the most out of that mechanical traction that the R35 develops. And basically we have come down to 2.8 seconds, 0 to 60 miles an hour, which is pretty impressive considering the car, is as old as it is. And it really does stay pretty much aligned to what most supercars are able to achieve in 2024. Handling wise, the car really has evolved tremendously. I mean, it was always a great handling car. Even the fact that it was very, very heavy, 1800 kilos and up from that first 2007 model. So Mizuno-san really used the weight of the GTR to kind of extract as much grip and basically, lateral road holding, because the GTR was always kind of generated an immense amount of lateral Gs. The VR38 has evolved a lot too, more in refinement and I guess power delivery, or the shape of the power and torque curves. Back in 2007, the car was pushing out 480 horsepower. We're up to 600 with the Nismo models and the T-spec here, and basically it's been, again, a refinement of engine internals, all the friction areas of the block and pistons. They really did take that kind of small increment philosophy to the extreme when it comes to the engine, and they've created one of the most explosive twin turbo V6s ever to come out of any manufacturer. The evolution of the R35 did take a little bit more of a design orientation from 2016 onwards, when Tamura-san took over from Mizuno-san as CPS. It was the first major refresh of the cabin. We had this new kind of center stack kind of redesign happening, and it really did inject a much needed refresh into the interior, in the R35. From that moment onwards, the changes have been very small, probably smaller and smaller every year, until the last couple of years, where it's basically been bumper redesigns and kind of grill rethinks, and kind of changing the front and rear look of the R35. I've never really been a fan of doing changes for the benefit of just doing them. As people and enthusiasts around the world continue to wonder and ask, when is the next GTR coming? Nissan has obviously started working on that. We don't really have any visibility into how that project is evolving. There's so many rumors surrounding it. We did see the Hyperforce come out last year, and basically that is a very kind of futuristic take on what the GTR could evolve to be. There's so much speculation and rumors surrounding the future of the GTR. We really have to kind of make an educated guess as to what the future of the next car will be. Nissan, through the Hyperforce concept, told us that the future of the GTR is very much electric. However, solid state batteries are a good decade away from production, so we can kind of believe that the very next GTR has to kind of be a step in between that. So we're probably going to see a car that's going to feature a hybrid system using electricity to torque fill and boost power where the ICE engine will kind of run out of puff. And I think it really makes sense because that's the kind of direction that a lot of other manufacturers are going towards. And then of course there is the styling side of things. Nissan will definitely have a bit of a tough job on their hands trying to take that extremely futuristic design language that was shown in the Hyperforce and kind of tone it down for production, mating it to the heritage of the previous 3 generations of the GTR. Timing wise, we can probably expect to see quite a bit of a gap between the end of production of the R35 GTR and the beginning of production of the new GTR, but you can bet that Nissan is really putting its best minds to work. They will not let their Halo car be anything less than perfect, so we can rest assured that they're really gonna come up with an amazing successor to the R35 and kind of be worthy of what the GTR really does stand for. Okay, so I think we really have to talk about the tuning side of the GTR. Back in 2007, Nissan was very clear that they did not want people to fiddle around with the car and start modifying the engine, and they would void warranties for stuff like that, as well as doing too many launches with the transmission, which a lot of people found a little bit ridiculous, but it stays very much true to the Nissan mentality of doing things. It didn't last long, of course. Tuners in Japan pretty much embraced the arrival of the R35 GTR and started a tuning frenzy basically that really hasn't stopped up until today. We've seen GTRs slightly evolve initially in the few years, and if you fast forward today, we have engine packages created from tuners all around the world that pretty much bring horsepower well into the 4-figure area. The GTR has been successful in both circuit racing, street racing, standing mile and top speed runs. It's basically become one of the most tunable, modifiable car to ever come out of any manufacturer, and it kind of makes you laugh thinking what that original message from Nissan kind of read. 17 years later, and spending a good day here driving the Hakone Turnpike and the surrounding roads, it really is quite amazing what a weapon Nissan has created with the R35. I think they've taken that original kind of recipe of what made the 2nd generation GTRs special and kind of really refined it and applied it to a global performance car. So what the GTR really stood for, since it came to be in 1969, originally with the Hakone, later on with the Ken Mary, and then of course that pause that brought us into the 2nd generation in 1989 with the R32. All these cars right across into the R34 were sports cars bordering on supercars that were achievable, they were affordable, they were a car that you could work towards, you could save a few years, and anybody could get into it. Originally in 2007, when the GTR was launched, it was only a couple of million yen more expensive than an R34 was in 1999, and that really made sense. It was a car that sure, it was a little bit pricier, but then again, it was a hell of a lot of an evolution from where the 34 left off. Unfortunately, over the years, that has kind of lost complete meaning. I'm sitting in the 2024 T-spec, which is priced at 19 million yen. That's a good 10 million yen more than the 2007 car cost. And along the line, I think the GTR program within Nissan sort of lost the plot. They kind of got it into their head that they were creating a car that would be a Porsche Turbo competitor, and with that the pricing had to be aligned to kind of match that, and I think they just pretty much lost the entire meaning of what the GTR brand was all about from 1969 onwards. So there you have it. That's the history of the R35 GTR, and spending a whole day here driving it kind of really refreshed what the car is all about. And you know, we can only hope that Nissan really does get with the job of creating the successor, and it doesn't keep us waiting another half a decade like it did from the transition from the 34 to the 35. So I guess the main question is, will the next GTR be electric or hybrid? Nissan, with its EV message, has really told the world that they really want to pursue EVs, and that really pretty much goes into the sports cars that they're going to make in the future. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Is that a bad thing? Who knows? I just wish you know, that the GTR does continue the lineage, that there is a successor to the R35 GTR, and with that we can only hope that Nissan really puts its best minds to work and creates something special that continues to kind of offer that hypercar performance experience for a fraction of the price. I would love to hear your opinion. Make sure you let me know in the comments what you think and what you hope that the new GTR will be.